ESM Chok Tong, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you here at Wisma Geylang Serai. Very happy to be in this beautiful place for the launch of Clean and Green Singapore 2018. This year is the 50th anniversary of our Keep Singapore Clean campaign. It was one of the first national campaigns that we launched after we became independent. And we did this even while the country was dealing with critical issues of survival, like creating jobs and building the SAF. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and his team looked beyond these immediate concerns, and they envisioned Singapore as a country that would be one of the cleanest and greenest cities in the world, an oasis in the region. So we embarked on an extensive, sustained national project. It involved cleaning our rivers, licensing and relocating our hawkers off the streets into hawker centers, providing proper sewage systems to every house, implementing public health and anti-littering laws, and of course, planting ample greenery and trees. Because of these efforts, now Singaporeans enjoy many green spaces and waterways in our beautiful city in the garden. But the clean and green journey is not done. Today, a clean and green Singapore means more than just clean waters and lush greenery. We need to do much more than that to protect our environment. And one reason for this is climate change. Maliki spoke about climate change just now and some of the things we are doing. I would like to talk about another aspect of climate change. This is a threat to Singapore and to the world which has become increasingly obvious. Recently, the UN published an updated report on climate change. It called on countries to take urgent action because it's happening sooner and more rapidly than people had expected. And if we don't do anything about it, temperatures could rise by another 1.5 degrees C just within the next 12 years. And we may get into a runaway greenhouse Earth reaction. In Singapore, we are already feeling the effects of more extreme weather. Over the past few years, we've recorded our hottest year ever and our second driest year ever. You will remember the long dry spell which turned green fields to brown parched spots a couple of years ago. You may also remember separately a cold spell we had when for a while Singaporeans were outdoors with sweaters and coats just for a few days. So the weather has become more extreme. There'll be highs, and on average, it'll be higher. And that could spread tropical diseases, make dengue fever a worse problem, affect agricultural output, crops, hurt our economy. And many Southeast Asian countries, including Singapore, are also vulnerable to rising sea levels because of our long coastlines and our low-lying areas. Therefore, like our founding fathers, who looked beyond immediate worries, we too need to watch out for long-term threats. We must consider the far-reaching implications of climate change for our city, our economy, our people. And we must do our part to contribute to global efforts such as the Paris Agreement to slow down climate change. And at the same time, we must take timely and concrete steps to protect ourselves against the adverse effects of climate change. We've implemented such long-term plans successfully, for example, in managing our water supply. We invested heavily in infrastructure by building the Marina Barrage and many other things. We introduced new technology like desalination and new water to expand and diversify our water supply. We priced water correctly to make Singaporeans conscious how precious water is and therefore value every drop of it. We launched national education and public campaigns to make saving water part of our lifestyle and consciousness. And we have to do the same for climate change. The Climate Action Plan, which we launched in 2016, outlines some of our mitigation and adaptation measures. The carbon tax will come into effect next year. It's an important signal to companies and households to reduce carbon emissions and adopt energy-efficient practices. We've also stepped up research We test-bedded new technologies and solutions in 10 living labs across the island, such as the Clean Tech Park. And the successful projects we will then scale up and apply nationwide. We are making significant infrastructure investments too. We've raised some low-lying roads near coastal areas, and the East Coast, Katong, Geylang areas, Bedok are all low-lying areas. We will build the new Changi Airport T5 on a higher platform, higher than the existing terminals, to allow for rising sea levels. We've just completed the Stamford Detention Tank and the Stamford Detention Diversion Canal. The tank can store up to 15 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of water, of storm water, so that when it rains heavily, it stores the water, doesn't allow it to go out and flood downstream Orchard Road. And after this, after the storm, it will divert the water into the Stamford Diversion Canal and into the Singapore River. And this should prevent Orchard Road from flooding, except perhaps in the most extreme rainstorms. But beyond these localized schemes, we also have to consider the broader implications of rising sea levels on our city. And the government agencies are studying this carefully, and in due course, we will come up with long-term proposals to adequately prepare and protect ourselves. This year is a year of climate action. So it's a good time to remind ourselves of what we can do to tackle climate change. Besides the infrastructure and the policies, we also need to change our mindsets and lifestyles. We make adjustments like taking public transport or using energy-saving electrical appliances. These may not seem significant individually, but just like our Save Water campaign, where every drop counts, every climate action counts. I'm heartened by the public response so far. More than 300,000 people, schools, NGOs, and corporate organizations have pledged their commitment and organized a series of community programs, which we can see in the Climate Action Showcase. In the public sector, all the ministries have taken the Climate Action Pledge, and they will reduce their plastic, water, and electricity consumption. So that's why today we don't have any plastic drinking water bottles with us for the guests. We've done well to make Singapore a clean, green, and livable place. All of us have a part to play in building a livable and endearing home. From the simple act of binning our rubbish, not wasting electricity, to recycling right, and especially e-waste, which Maliki spoke about just now. It's all about being gracious and considerate to those who share our living spaces and environment, and paying attention to protecting this planet Earth that we all live on. We still have a lot to do to tackle climate change. We must start now to protect the environment, ourselves, and our futures. Every one of us can be a steward of our environment. Every one of us must do our part to keep Singapore a clean, green, and sustainable home for many more years to come. Thank you very much.